The MPP are saying Nanado took the money with both hands while he was a candidate and not as a president. Do you think it makes it any better? It means he lost the fight against corruption even before he started. It means that while President Nanado was campaigning against the humble JDM government for being corrupt, he himself was participating shamelessly in corruption. That's the hypocrisy at the highest level. The money was bribe being paid in advance for him not to sack someone if he becomes president. If President Nanado was an honest person, he should have rejected that money. I've heard people ask why that director of urban roads was still at post and still so influential in the award of contracts after the MPP assumed power. As a well-meaning Ghanaian, this should worry you. It worries me. The $40,000 wasn't a donation, it was a bribe. Nobody makes a donation and asks a condition or request in return. Good morning. Thank you for that message. Komla Denya says the NDC has opened their eyes widely during the election and collation process to announcement of results. This EC cannot be trusted. They have always signaled right and turned left. So let me end with Marcel Akpabli, who is sending me a message from Ayawaso East. Says, Kobna Mafo, Akufo-Addo has nothing to offer us apart from glaring thievery, nepotism, vindictiveness, divisiveness, corruption, above all, sheer arrogance. We've had enough of that, so we are going out to vote massively against him to have our freedom. We don't want to live in a country where even your name will determine whether you will be employed or not. Mrs. Mutare.
I'm actually totally shocked and kind of curious. I don't know, do you recall when Ghana actually attained gender parity in terms of the girl and the boy child? It's not a conversation we're actually having anymore. And if you look at all the statistics that he has actually generated, take the population growth over the same period, and it totally destroys that whole conversation. Then, of course, you talk about maintaining monetary policy. Who determines monetary policy? It's not the Bank of Ghana.
The government. Yeah.
Yes, who appoints the persons who are there? For the first time, we have a very politically involved governor. And I listened immediately after he even declared that the monetary policy was staying at 14.5%. A very senior-most economic consultant came out to ask why. He questioned it. Today, the dollar to the CD is 6,000 Ghana cedis. Be that as it may. The person who led that whole conversation around arresting the CD and the dollar and all of that, suddenly is campaigning only on certain things. I don't even know what is the theme of President Akufo-Addo's campaign. That's totally falling flat. 4 years is a lifetime in politics. Even a day in politics is a lifetime. And when you speak largely about, you see, this whole thing about this Orwellian theory of there is a poor, and this is for the poor man, yeah, and then there's the rich or the big man, this is for him. So a Japa is for the big ones like yourself. And then when there's a community scholarship, it goes to that other person over there. Who are those people? They are just like you and I. Have you gone to areas that are all affected by this pandemic, where classrooms have now been turned into play areas? Those children who you claim you have community scholarships for, they haven't been in school for over a year. They don't have online study. They don't have any teachers who are facing up for them in the mornings like you are doing. I think what we are looking for is a fully inclusive government. A government for the people, all citizens, all Ghanaians, in our entirety, not a select few. That the PDS for family and friends should become for the good people of Ghana. That Ajapa for the few should be for everybody. That the 5% of insurance of every vehicle that gets insured, which goes to data bank, should at least be for every Ghanaian company. That the same data bank that was almost collapsing, whose balance sheets we now know are the highest ever in the history of the establishment of that company. These are the things that Ghanaians are going to look at to vote, and vote massively for John Dramani Mahama. There is a certain perception out there that there is a few within the MPP who should benefit instantly from everything. I was very sad yesterday, for example, after Madame Johnson Sirleaf, former president of Liberia, had spoken as a leader of the ECOWAS Observer Team, to find out that she was actually a director of Data Bank.
Yes.
It broke my heart. It questions not just her integrity, but her objectivity even. And I wonder if the ECOWAS even knew about this rule. Even if she has recently resigned from that role, it means there's a certain close personal relationship that exists between herself and the ruling government. Take all the statistics you've provided. Of that one person you mentioned, do you know how many children would never make it to a conversation about a community scholarship? And for 4 years, under the watch of Nana J. and John Dramani Mahama, in fact, for the whole of the Nels Mahama administration, Ghana came tops in the WASI exams. Go and check. And all the people who topped in those exams were girls. I don't think the conversation really is about numbers. If that were to be the basis for which people would go out screaming to vote for Nana Akufo-Addo, I'm sure this conversation would definitely be totally obsolete. Remember, there are harsh realities on the ground. When you see the numbers increasing in the Kaya Youth and Kaya A areas, where do you think they are coming from? Speak English to some of them. Check the results that some of them have. Maybe they don't know where Pan-African TV is to come here and announce that they have these results and there's nobody to give them a community scholarship. Do you know the contribution of GET Fund to our educational system, to infrastructure, to school fees, to developing education generally? So when we now take the proceeds of GET Fund and mortgage them for a loan facility, who do you think suffers? The same person who benefits from free SHS. It's almost as if in the left hand, you are offering me free something, and with the right, you are taking everything back. When you talk about futuristic plans for the good people of Ghana, you come from the Western region. That 10 project that was left behind, do you know how many Ghanaians it employed? Do you know how many jobs that was supposed to create? How much money that inheritance is to the good people of Ghana? All of those monies have been squandered. Millions of dollars. The energy sector levy account has certainly not gone to reducing anything in the energy sector because the IPPs are currently demanding payment from the government. When you speak to matters to do with corruption, to do with nepotism, there's a good reason why the English literature developed a word called nepotism. It is a story that allows for when you overdo something, when you have a raft of the whole litany of familial relationships. How do you check corruption? You have a husband, you have a wife, you have children, you have parents, name it, extended family systems, and 7 in one government. President Akufo had his brother as his defense minister. He was just the brother. We all knew that Dr. Akufo was well qualified and able to serve in that capacity. Who spoke about nepotism or who spoke about family and friends? I think that for the very first time, the subject of family and friends is why we are remaining poor. It is why our communities are poorer. It is not the 1 or 2 people who get a community scholarship, because I'm telling you, most people don't even know that there's something called a community scholarship. And in terms of numbers, do your arithmetic effectively as against current trends even in our population. The number of girls we have, the number of boys we have, just look at the progression over the years. Find out whether free SHS has in any way increased phenomenal intakes into schools. The answer is a resounding no. And this is empirical. If you look at the construction of all of these facilities that were in existence, most of them were actually oriented towards developing the country, generating jobs, investment opportunities. Take most of the road infrastructure that we left behind. Try traveling on the Eastern Corridor Road. If we had not spent those millions to family and friends calling themselves auditors to go and audit these projects and invested those monies in completing the projects, the rural poor, all of us will be benefiting from it. If we had thought considerably about the monies invested in auditing the Cocoa Roads project, today we cannot even find the report. I'm sure that project today will be complete. If you look at the source of monies that have been siphoned out, National Youth Authority, I'm sure you are here, you remember, when the law was actually passed to change its objectives so that some monies will come from the taxpayer to invest in youth employment, it has become a conduit for corruption and consumption. How many jobs has that National Youth Authority created under you? Then you talk about NAPCO. NAPCO is fantastic because it's short-term thing, medium-term thing. NAPCO is like youth in cocoa. It's like youth in roads, youth in traffic management, youth in agric. All of those things. President Mahama spent days even on farms with young people in agric. And I remember he had even coined this term about agric becoming sexy for young people, making it attractive. Our only solution now is to invest further in agric, to open up our economy for investment, to create better opportunities for everybody. You hear it all the time. Everyone matters, not just a few. Everybody needs to eat, not just a few. What the society fronts upon is a ruling government led by President Akufo-Addo that gives little, tiny little droplets of handouts and then takes fat shares for themselves. The person of Mr. Ibrahim Mahama is an industrial businessman. Are we saying that President Akufo-Addo has no brothers and sisters who are doing business? Terminal 3, for example, the duty-free shop has been given to President Akufo-Addo's daughter. Imagine we didn't have all these family and friends parading the corridors of power. Who would complain about it? If it was just that daughter and she had acquired it ordinarily, why would anybody complain? Let's stop this Orwellian approach of there's them and there's us. You cook raw food and share to people under COVID and say it's a good thing. I think President Mahama went to the IMF, and I think there's a certain misconception about the IMF, World Bank, United Nations, and all these bodies. We pay subscription dues,
annually,
to be part of it. It is in the interest even of the IMF that member states would benefit from the resources because they also earn incomes on these monies that are given out. It is also for good. You see, President Mahama had actually extended an invitation even at the time to the NPP in opposition then. Come, let's discuss. Crude oil prices had collapsed and our whole budget was in disarray. There was also a need for some policy credibility, pending the coming into stream of the 10 oil fields. At the time we're leaving office, Ghana had been projected to do what? To grow by 8%. We have taken all that growth backwards. And we still sit here and sing that when you say you are hungry, it's 3 SHS. You want to drink water, it's 3 SHS. When Osajifo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, in all his wisdom, started free education and introduced the Cocoa Scholarship, of which I am a proud beneficiary, did that mean that everybody in that country was fully educated? And talking about walking miles, even then, second generation modern parents walked miles. I'm picturing my father who's been dead 18 years, telling me the distance they used to walk from one part to the end to get to Tamale Secondary School. It was no joke. So it's even now, there will still be some kids who... Yes, I'm telling you, some children will still suffer to gain. What government is supposed to do is to reduce and ameliorate the burdens on everybody. When you have one single project, such as Ajapa, millions of dollars, then you talk about improving the goldfields mines. Was it just done in an expediency of the day so you can take and harvest all that is there, siphon it all out to one family, and then the rest of Ghana gets what? Peanuts in return for all of that. You know, I think we need to be more genuine in our approach to doing that. You know, I used to tell people, this shaming and calling names, this lack of a certain communality, this lack of continuing in government projects especially, for a low-income country, would come back and bite us. Today, look at you MPP singing, oh, we built toilets here. Seriously? President Mahama was told that we don't eat roads. Now we suddenly, you see, that is the beauty about the NPP. That you expect people to applaud your very, very mediocre interventions that actually bring no lasting change. Have you been to Vice President Bamia's hometown lately? No, look at the road leading to Walawan, to Manlogo, and all those areas. John Mahama had started the process. If we had even continued from there, try going to Bunkungu Yoyo and see how the efforts that were made even in the initial construction have been left to go waste. Go to Tamale, a huge regional metropolis. They've bound off that whole circle road claiming that you're waiting for Shino Hadu resources. Deception. Just because you want a second term. Nothing has been done. Not a pillar is moving in that whole interchange that the Tamil people were promised. I recall at the peak of the 2016 campaign in particular, beyond all of the other promises you speak about, which factory, what factory, what did President Mahama invest in pharmaceutical companies at the time of doing so to reduce the burden? When that Commander Sugar Factory was put up, unfortunately, our only mate comes from there. Can you imagine the government, even on the assumption of office, had worked hard to make that factory a working one? You know, trying to find funds to invest in projects is not an easy thing. We sometimes look at these things from very myopic perspectives. There is always quiproquo. You want to start a Commander Sugar Factory. This is what is in it for us. What is in it for you? Go to the BP Share Factory and see how it has changed the lives of that whole community. My mother deals in share nuts. She deals in share products. I know what that has done. It has almost become like a cooperative for all the persons who pick nuts in that catchment area. You know, there are realities that we cannot pretend we don't see. As for free SHS, it's not novel because Osagyefo had started something like that. Because he knew how much he had, he understood what Ghanaians needed, he even understood that there should be a certain equitable distribution of our wealth, that everybody must get something. But this notion about resource-rich areas, as we heard people speak, and today those people are in government, they have two of their sons in very choice locations working in government. How many of the people, that whole free SHS cost 2 billion Ghana cedis? And that's what we've been told. We heard Charles, a major stakeholder in our education. In fact, now when you speak in that freedom, immediately you are ostracized. All of the stakeholders in education now have been cowed almost into utmost silence. They say we have media freedoms. You speak, and the next day the freedoms are withdrawn from you. Now you sit here and calculate, strangely, numbers that don't even make sense, not even to anybody who is sitting here, in terms of gender parity. Says who? Ghana attained that years ago. The United Nations has even moved on from there. There were even concerns that the boy child was beginning to suffer because of the overemphasis in the girl child. So what are we really talking about? Look, the reality is that the ruling government led by President Akufo-Addo has failed abysmally. They actually didn't give President Mahama or the NDC a chance even. That we are where we are today is actually testament to the failure of this government. You talk about the Kumfi, you talk about this, you talk about that. Seriously, what is the impact of all these money stolen by government apparatchiks and aficionados of government in comparison to these other things that you speak of? In comparison, even 2 billion for the whole of this country for free SHS, in comparison to the one transaction of Japan alone. It pales in comparison.
I wish I could allow you to continue talking, but unfortunately I haven't.
Today we talk about the fact that we don't want to discuss corruption. Says who? We didn't want to listen to you because that's when you are actually educating us.
No, I don't know
yes.
a lot.
Okay.
Look, this election is no different from any election anywhere in the world. It is not different from elections in Afghanistan, in Kosovo, Kaya, everywhere. Same. People are looking for better standards of living and work. People want improved access to water, good drinking water, potable water which they can drink, use to wash their things, use to bath, and so on. They are looking for that as a result of the elections, as a consequence of elections. People want to eat. If they don't eat, they will die. They want to eat good food. That must be a consequence of elections. People want to be educated, so that knowledge which has been accumulated will be passed on to today's generation and tomorrow's generation, and we can improve that knowledge and so on. People want to be able to protect themselves against the weather. They want to live in houses, modern houses, which gives them protection against the sun and rain and earthquakes and so on. That's what people want. And that's about Ghanaian elections. It's about Nigerian elections. It's about Burkinabe elections and so on. Basic, you understand? It is clear that for the New Patriotic Party, this election is about free SHS. This election is not even about primary education. It is not about nursery education. It's not about university education. It is not about informal education. It is simply about free SHS. That is the posture of the New Patriotic Party. I have no quarrel with them. Except that the truth must be told. So when I hear an MPP man or woman look us in the face and say, this is the best that has happened in our history, I feel sad. This is a betrayal of the fact that they don't know our history. How can we compare what MPP has done in education to what Kwame Nkrumah did in education? How can we compare? My brother, even in opposition, go and read our history, even in opposition, Nkrumah was mobilizing resources to set up secondary schools. Ghana National! Go and check the history of Ghana National. Even in opposition. You know, a lot of people don't know things. They just talk by heart. Before independence, the whole of Northern Ghana, had only one middle school in Yendi. One middle school in Yendi. So people who finished primary school in other parts of Northern region had to sit entrance examination to pass to go to school in Yendi. Enrollment in primary schools increased by almost 2,000% in 6 years under Nkrumah. And you want to compare what you're doing in free SHS to what Nkrumah did? Nkrumah set up the Ghana Education Trust. He did not just make schools free, he actually set them up. Ghana Education Trust under Nombo. That is why if you go around this country, you see that all the secondary schools have the same design and so on. It was deliberately done. All of them have the same style. Why? And secondary school enrollment rose by more than 2,000% in 6 years. And then you have the F-Fund 3 to compare free SHS to what Nkrumah did and say, this is the best that has happened in our history. Who told you that? And then, last week I was listening to radio, and somebody was recounting the achievements of the MPP. So we have introduced free education. Today, your children can go to secondary school, you don't buy uniform, you don't buy sandals, you don't buy this, everything is free. What a lie. Free secondary school uniforms was introduced under President Mills. Check the record. Why? The rehabilitation of the Kumasi Shoe Factory was meant to produce sandals for children going to school. Indeed, when Professor Jenana Opoku-Ejima was Minister of Education, they actually also introduced free sanitary pads. Textbooks, where was it introduced? Under Akufo-Addo? No, hell no. So stop lying. Stop lying. I have no objections to free SHS. How can I? I'm an Nkrumahist. Why? Under Nkrumah, university education was absolutely free. No. I even went to the Ghana Institute of Journalism in the early 1970s. Okay? I didn't pay school fees. I didn't pay school fees. So. That's a tertiary institution. I wasn't paying school fees. We are being fed free of charge. We are eating free. And we are eating, Masha, it was chop better.
Well, I remember my dad's stories.
It was chop better. We are eating free. In addition, we are being paid allowances. Transportation to school was free.
Wow.
How did all this suffer? It was in 1969 when the Buzian government took over that they cancelled free education, cost sharing and so on. Well, where did it all begin? 1969, go and check. So don't waste our years. My brother, they say free SHS is the best, I lie. Is that not what they're saying?
That's what they say.
How many of the current ministers have their children in free SHS? If they want to convince us, they should send their children to free SHS, then we know that is the best. They are all running away from free SHS. Why? But it's good.
Get there.
Then test it. If it's good, test it small. Don't test it plenty, test it small. Send your children to free SHS. You know?
Exactly.
You know?
Send them there.
In the 1960s, all of Nkrumah's ministers, they sent their children to public schools. We were in the same classrooms with Nkrumah's ministers and so on. Their children didn't go to any special schools because they had confidence in the educational system they were building. Ask Kokuba what school he went to. Ask Kokuba what school he went to. Ask people like Victor Lassan and so on what schools they went to. They went to public schools like everybody else. You design and build SHS for us, call it free SHS, and we are running away from it and you say you have achieved something. What have you achieved? And then there is something which is completely baffling. My brother, something totally baffling. Over the last week, there has been a debate about who started free SHS. And I'm sure you've been following that debate. Why that debate? I read from the Hazard parliamentary record, not from one of those fly sheets and so on. From the Hazard, the current Minister of Education accusing the Mahama government of leaving a debt of more than 30 million Ghana cedis, which arose out of the implementation of free SHS in 2015. Are they saying that the parliamentary hazard is wrong? This is not being said by NBCU, not by me. This is by the current Minister of Education in Parliament. Not in a street corner, in Parliament, on the floor of Parliament. Accusing NDC or the Mahama administration of leaving a debt of more than 30 million because they started implementing free SHS in 2015. You remember that in 2015, a policy was introduced to make secondary school day education completely free. Is that not free SHS? Yeah. In any case, what was the debate about in 2016? In 2016, the debate was whether or not to have progressive free SHS introduced progressively or introduced all at once. The NPP position was that we were going to introduce it all at once. Bam! NDC said no, we would implement it but stage by stage. Of course, people of Ghana were in a hurry. They wanted it bam, all at once. They voted for the New Patriotic Party, and what did they do? They introduced it progressively. First, for first years, for second years, and then for third years. Is that not progressive? Is that not progressive? Don't waste our years, my friends. Don't waste our time. December 7th is not too far away. Just around the corner. At the end of the day, we would know what the people of Ghana want. My duty as a journalist is to point out persistently that elections have consequences. Who you elect will have consequences for you at least for the next 4 years. What are you voting for? These are questions that we should be asking all the time. What are you voting for? If you vote for X, what will happen in the next 4 years and so on? There is something that I can say today. My brother, listen to me carefully. As we speak now, there's a big hole in the national economy. And I want anybody to challenge me.
Keeping hold.
There's a huge hole, a crater in the national economy. Look, as we speak now, independent power producers are threatening to shut down their plants because government owes them $1.7 billion. $1.7 billion has not been paid to independent power producers. If one of them shuts down, we will return to the era of Doomso. If we shut down the Mary plant, we are running into Doomso. And to stop that, we need $1.7 billion, not million, $billion. So all the promises we are hearing and so on, ask yourself, how are we going to fulfill them when there is this huge hole in the national economy? We have borrowed and borrowed and borrowed that by the end of this month, the debt to GDP ratio is estimated to be 74%. 74%. As we speak now, the Volta River Authority is indebted to the tune of more than $300 million. That's the hole I'm talking about. As we speak now, there is no company in the energy sector which is not heavily indebted. Master, as we speak now, we are spending 3/4 of total national revenue plus grants on debt servicing and principal repayment. That is the hole in the national economy. As we speak now, we are getting to the point where we can no longer borrow. This country's credit worthiness is being shattered. When you reach a debt to GDP ratio of more than 70%, you can't finance your development through borrowing again. We have over-borrowed. So, those who are going to vote on December 7th, think about your future. And I'm not talking about your long-term future. I predict with certainty that after this election, we are all going to have to fill that hole. That big hole in the national economy must be filled. How do you fill that hole? That hole can be filled with increases in petroleum prices, increases in utility tariffs, more taxation, and so on. Watch who you vote for. Watch who you vote for. Because who you vote for may lead to increased hardship. Who you vote for may lead to increases in petroleum prices. Who you vote for may lead to increases in utility tariffs. Who you vote for may impose considerable hardship on you. And that is why we have to think twice before we thumbprint and put that paper in the ballot box. This election will be like no other before. The people of Ghana will surely decide on December 7th.
I saw you take the ID cards. You were saying that you didn't issue.
Yes. Thank you. You saw me. It is true. My brother, look at this. Look at this. How can you claim that the first time a national ID card was issued was under Akufo-Addo? It's not true. This is my ID card which was issued to me
that
long before Akufo-Addo came to power.
It didn't have a national representation.
That's not what you said. You said not even one card was issued before Akufo-Addo came to power.
Clarified it when you just told me that you had.
At least this is one card.
No, but you said not one. You said not one. That 60% came to come and register.
But the machines were far from that. Even if
this is my card issued before Akufo-Addo came to power.
Because if it does not have a national representation,
What does it mean?
what it means is that how you intend to formalize the economy wouldn't be possible.
This is my card.
Okay.
Even the banks are not accepting us as ID cards right now. I'm sure you know that.
The broadband
They are not in
the
there.
broadband that is facilitating all this
Yeah.
digital system. Who put it
Who
there?
started it?
The broadband that is formalizing this economy. Who put it there?
Well, let me read. This is Emmanuel Mheje, who says, Mr. Kwesipat, you are indeed a student of history and I love my heart for you. Your passion to see democracy thrive in Ghana is undoubtedly worth and worthy of emulation. You have contributed your quota without fear or favor, and I sincerely hope posterity will be kind to leaving a lasting legacy in your honor. Aluta continue. But folks, I wish you all peaceful election and a peaceful transition of power. I salute you all. And then this one from Senator. I think this is okay. Senator says, Sena, Ablekuma West constituency is hosting JM's final rally today at Kakari Park in Dansoma at 7 p.m. We are inviting all of you. Is that
7 p.m.
Is that correct?
Yes, accurate. Yes. Kakari Brobe.
Yes.
You know the
7 p.m. rally.
Is that 7 p.m.?
I don't think it's 7. But
But
I know that they are having a.
No, but yesterday I saw a route march at about 11 p.m.
Even up to 1 a.m.
Yes. At 1 a.m. there was some. There was a rally after that.
Yeah, at 11 o'clock I wanted to go and read, so I left my television
we
station.
were going like 3 a.m. People were still waiting for us.
Oh, but we worked till 5 a.m. before. I remember.
People are so anxious. You see, the issue is that people are so anxious to vote.
To retain and now down.
Very interesting. Well, like Mr. Kwesipat said, in fact, I recall, I think it was May 9th, 2019.
Strong man.
A year ago, over a year ago, we were just preparing for Alhaji and Alhaji when all of a sudden some people drove into Radio Gold. That's how come we landed here on Pan-African TV, and we have brought our lateness to your television sets. Every time we are on, somebody is testing me. When are you starting the show? When are you starting the show? The only early comer, the person who comes on time, has always been Mr. Pratt. Even at Radio Gold and up till now.
Wow.
So we apologize for our usual lateness, but we were not prepared. We were forced here. So we are now learning how to go about it. My name is Sena Nombo. On
Who closed the studio?
7th December, of course, yes. So that's why I'm saying that. That's why. Well, actually, the reason we are so close, the reasons are untenable now. Now, the reason we are so close, I think Madam Joyce Bawa Mutari sat on a TV station with the Minister for Communications, and from her comments, it's like as if she's offended. That's why we are closed. That's why we are closed. It's personal now.
Very high ups have even asked them to end them.
That we demonstrated, and in the demonstration, they wrote things about it. That's how come Radio Gold is closed.
It went to court for redress. And what did the court say?
The court said, go back to NCA because there's
Of
there's a way in which, of course, why would they not?
No,
All the
actually,
people who are going to sit on the case were sacked.
Why is that?
yeah.
So before the case was
Actually,
Madam.
no, actually, we went past the court matter. I think on this matter, majority of you keep repeating things.
No, personal decision.
It is
No, it's personal. Frankly,
I don't
because we've gone past
even in
that.
her
On this matter, actually,
When Ofosu asked the president,
I don't.
he said it is the NCA.
I said,
What about when GBC? You remember GBC?
Yes.
When GBC was going to lose one of the channel, the president says no.
No.
We are all Ghanaians. Nobody would take an opportunity.
it's not
I've asked you a
It's not
question.
true.
When
It's not true. Well, let's end the show. A very big thank you, Mr. Kwesipat, who's managing editor of the Inside Newspaper. A very big thank you to the Ambassador Sampiale, who is a former Ghana High Commissioner to India and also president of the NDC Professional Forum. Kobna, okay, Kobna Mafo. Kobna Mafo. Anytime I hear your name, I think I'm reminded of a presenter on radio. No, not on Radio Good, actually. Yes. So, and then Madam Joyce Bawa-Muktari, who is an aide to the former president, joined us today. My name is Sena Nombo. A big thank you to Tijani and the crew here at Pan-African Television. What is determining your vote on December 7th? Well, we'll be back after the elections, I'm sure. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy the rest of your week. We are praying for peaceful election. Happy birthday to Mrs. Sito. And bye-bye.
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer,